Psalm 121 Morning Prayer. The Lord watches over you today. There are days when you lift your eyes and all you see are mountains, high, immovable, and overwhelming. They represent everything you cannot control, the challenges you didn't expect, the weight you didn't choose, the future you can't yet see. And it's in those moments when your strength feels too small that Psalm 121 speaks with quiet power. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. This is not a cry of confusion. It's a declaration of faith. The psalmist is not wondering if help will come. He's reminding his heart where it comes from. The hills were not only symbols of beauty in ancient Israel, they were also places of fear. Enemies hid there. Danger waited there. But the writer chooses not to look at the hills with dread, but with expectation. Because above every mountain stands a God who made them, a God who reigns higher than what you face. There's a holy shift that happens when you decide to lift your eyes. Worry looks down, faith looks up. Anxiety magnifies the problem. Prayer magnifies the provider. When you lift your gaze to heaven, you're not ignoring reality. You're inviting divine perspective. You're choosing to see your situation through the eyes of the one who cannot be defeated. Think of Abraham in the book of Genesis, chapter 22. God told him to take his son Isaac up the mountain, a command that tested everything he believed. But as they climbed, Abraham said, God himself will provide the lamb. His help wasn't visible, but his faith was vocal. And when he reached the summit, provision was waiting. The ram wasn't sent halfway. It was already there, hidden until obedience revealed it. That's how divine help works. It doesn't always come early, but it always comes right on time. The same is true for you. The help you need for today is already on its way, not because you've earned it, but because you're loved by a God who never fails to show up. Sometimes his help looks like strength to endure. Other times it looks like doors opening or paths clearing. But always, it looks like his presence beside you, whispering, keep climbing, I am with you. The mountains you face are not barriers. They're altars. They are the places where your faith grows and your fear dies. Every step upward is a declaration that you trust God more than you trust your circumstances. When your heart grows weary, remind yourself, you are not walking toward defeat. You are walking toward divine help that's already waiting at the top. In the book of Exodus, chapter 17, when the Israelites fought Amalek, Moses stood on a hill with his hands lifted in prayer. As long as his arms were raised, the people prevailed. When his strength faded, Aaron and Hur held his arms up, and victory continued. That's what happens when you lift your eyes and your hands in faith. Heaven responds, help descends, strength multiplies. So today, whatever your hill looks like, a problem, a loss, a fear, a dream that feels too far, lift your eyes higher. The mountain is not your master, it's your meeting place with God. Say aloud, my help comes from the Lord. Speak it until it becomes stronger than your doubt. The maker of heaven and earth hasn't lost sight of you, and he hasn't forgotten how to make a way where there is none. Every mountain has a summit, and every climb has a purpose. The Lord who watches over you doesn't just stand at the top, he climbs with you, step by step, breath by breath. And when you reach the moment you think you can't go further, his hand will pull you higher. So keep your eyes lifted, because while the world looks at the mountain, faith looks at the Maker. When the journey feels too heavy, there are mornings when just getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain. You start the day already exhausted, not from what you've done, but from what lies ahead. The road looks long, the burden feels heavy, and hope seems faint in the distance. You tell yourself to keep going, yet deep down you wonder how much strength you have left. It's in these moments that Psalm 121 meets you like a gentle voice. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. God doesn't expect you to carry the weight of the journey alone. He walks beside you, steadying your steps when the path gets steep. You are not climbing in your own strength. You are climbing in His. The same God who gave you life is the one who sustains it. The power that raised Christ from the dead still strengthens those who feel weary today. Think of Elijah in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 19. After his greatest victory, he collapsed in despair beneath a tree, saying, "It is enough, Lord." He felt spent, forgotten, and done. But God didn't scold him for his weakness. He met him in it. An angel touched Elijah and said, "Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you." Then God provided bread and water that gave him strength to continue. That's what divine care looks like. Not the removal of the road, but the renewal of strength. God does the same for you. He doesn't always shorten the journey, but he always provides what you need to keep walking. Sometimes it's encouragement that arrives through a friend. Sometimes it's peace that comes unexpectedly. Sometimes it's simply the strength to take one more step. Each is a reminder that you are being watched over by a God who never lets you walk alone. When the journey feels too heavy, it's easy to mistake fatigue for failure. You begin to think you've lost faith when, in truth, you've just lost energy. But faith isn't measured by how strong you feel. It's measured by your willingness to keep moving, even when you don't. Every step taken in weakness is still an act of worship. Every moment you choose to trust, even when tired, becomes a declaration that his strength is greater than yours. Sometimes, God uses the long road to build what the short road never could. Strength isn't built on the mountaintop. It's built in the climb. Patience, endurance, trust, these grow in the places where progress feels slow. The weight you feel today may be the very thing shaping you into who you were meant to become. The same God who designed the destination also designed the development. So when you feel like giving up, pause, not to quit, but to breathe. Whisper, "Lord, the road feels long, but you are my strength." Heaven hears that kind of honesty. God isn't impressed by perfection. He's moved by dependence. When you admit you can't carry it all, he steps in and carries you through. Even the strongest saints in Scripture had moments of weakness. Moses cried out under the weight of leadership. David groaned in his Psalms. Paul admitted, "We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure." Yet in all their struggle, one truth remained. God's strength is made perfect in weakness. You don't need to have it all together, you just need to hold on. Every weary step you take is seen by the one who watches over your path. Every breath you fight to catch is counted by the one who gives you life. And when your strength runs out, his begins. The journey may be long, but you are not walking it in vain. Every mile matters, every prayer counts, and every tear is being transformed into testimony. So, keep moving, even slowly. Rest when needed, but don't stop believing. The Lord who watches over you will not let you fall. His presence is not at the end of the road, it's with you in every step. And one day when you look back, you'll see that the same God who guided you through the valley is the one who carried you up the hill. The Lord as your shade and shelter. There are seasons when life feels like walking beneath a relentless sun, when the heat of stress, loss, or exhaustion bears down so heavily that your soul aches for relief. You feel scorched by worry, exposed by fear, and desperate for somewhere to rest in safety. But Psalm 121 gives a tender promise. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. This is more than poetic comfort. It's divine assurance. God doesn't only guide you, he shields you. His presence becomes the unseen canopy over your life, covering your heart from what could destroy it. Just as shade protects from burning light, his grace protects you from the intensity of this world. The sun will shine, but it will not consume you. The world may demand, but it will not define you. Because in every heat wave of the soul, God himself is your refuge. In the wilderness, when the Israelites wandered under the blazing desert sky, God didn't remove the sun. He provided a cloud by day, a visible reminder that his protection was always near. That same faithfulness still covers you today. You may not see the cloud, but you are walking beneath its shelter. The fact that you're still standing after what you've endured is proof that you've been protected more times than you realize. To say that the Lord is your shade also means he stands close, at your right hand. In ancient times, a warrior's right side was his vulnerable side, unguarded by his shield. God stands there, filling the gap, defending what you cannot. You don't have to fight every battle alone or shield yourself from every threat. The one beside you fights for you. In the book of Psalms, chapter 91, it says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." That shadow is not the darkness of fear, but the covering of presence. It's the place where anxiety loses its heat and peace begins to grow again. God's shade doesn't remove the sun. It redefines it. It teaches you that even under pressure, you are preserved. Think of Jonah, weary and bitter beneath the blazing sun, when God caused a leafy plant to grow overnight and provide shade for him. That shade didn't change Jonah's situation immediately, but it reminded him that God still saw him, still cared, still provided. That same mercy meets you too. You may not yet see the change you long for, but you are not forgotten in the waiting. God shades you while you endure. There are days when your mind feels like it's burning with anxious thoughts, when your emotions run dry and you long for quiet within yourself. That is when you must step beneath His shelter intentionally, through prayer, through worship, through silence. Each of these moments becomes spiritual shade, a pause where your heart cools in the nearness of God. When you pray, "Lord, be my shade," you are asking for more than comfort. You are asking for closeness. You're reminding your soul that even when life turns harsh, there is still a gentle refuge waiting. The world may still burn around you, but under His shadow, you are safe. And when night falls and the moon rises, when loneliness or doubt tries to invade your thoughts, remember that His protection doesn't end when the day does. The same God who shields you from the heat also guards you from the darkness. His shelter never closes. His watch never pauses. If you felt unprotected, exposed, or forgotten, this is your reminder. You are covered. Every unseen mercy, every narrow escape, every moment when peace returned unexpectedly, it was His shade over you. So when the pressure feels too hot and your strength feels faint, whisper this truth to your heart. The Lord is my shade at my right hand. You don't walk uncovered. You don't face the day alone. The same God who shielded Israel in the desert stands beside you now, holding back the burn of the world with His everlasting shadow of grace, protected from what you cannot see. Some of the greatest mercies in your life are the ones you never knew you received, the dangers that never reached you, the heartbreaks that never happened, the moments when you thought nothing was working, yet heaven was working overtime. Psalm 121 reminds us that the Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. This promise isn't limited to what's visible. God guards you in the realm you can't perceive, the unseen battles, the spiritual storms, the choices that could have led you astray but didn't. Protection isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. It's the interruption that made you late, only for you to realize later that it saved you. It's the friendship that ended before it destroyed your peace. It's the closed door that left you confused but ultimately covered you. God's watchfulness extends beyond what your eyes can track. He stands between you and what could have broken you. You don't have to see His hand to trust His heart. In the book of Genesis, chapter 37, Joseph's story embodies this truth. His brother's jealousy led him into a pit, then into slavery. To the human eye, it looked like disaster. But behind every step, God was protecting a greater plan. Years later, Joseph would look into the same faces that betrayed him and say, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." What looked like abandonment was actually divine preservation. God wasn't absent in the pit. He was already arranging the palace. The same is happening in your life. The disappointments that confuse you, the delays that frustrate you, the detours you didn't plan. These are not signs of God's neglect. They are signs of His protection. You may not see what He's shielding you from, but you are still standing because of it. Heaven has blocked more harm than you will ever know. In the book of Job, Satan asked for permission to test Job, but he couldn't move until God allowed it. There was a hedge around Job's life, a spiritual barrier unseen by human eyes. You have that same hedge. God's protection doesn't mean you'll never face difficulty. It means that even when you do, it will never destroy you. His boundaries for your life are not meant to confine you, but to preserve you. There are battles you'll never have to fight because God fought them before they reached you. There are nights you'll sleep through while angels stand guard. There are seasons when you'll feel surrounded, not knowing that you're actually encircled by grace. That's what divine protection looks like. Invisible, but impenetrable. Think of Elisha in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6. When his servant panicked after seeing an enemy army surrounding them, Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And suddenly the servant saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire, heaven's army standing between them and danger. Nothing had changed in the physical realm, yet everything was different once he saw what had been there all along. God's protection is often like that, unseen until faith opens your eyes. You don't need to see the entire plan to rest in the promise. God's protection is both proactive and permanent. He's not reacting to your circumstances, He's ruling over them. His care reaches further than your vision, covering places you didn't even know were vulnerable. So when anxiety tries to convince you that you're unguarded, remind yourself, the Lord watches over my life. Not just the visible parts, but the hidden ones too. Your thoughts, your relationships, your future. You are surrounded by grace, shielded by mercy, and guarded by love. And when you look back over your life, you'll realize that some of your greatest blessings were disguised as things that didn't happen. The accident avoided, the heartbreak diverted, the danger unseen. All of it whispers one truth: you were never unprotected, only unaware of how protected you were, guarded in the midst of the battle. There are moments when life feels like a battlefield, not of swords and shields, but of thoughts, emotions, and unseen forces. The conflict is internal, but its weight feels external. You wake up already fighting, for peace, for clarity, for faith. The noise of the world and the pressure within collide, and you wonder how long you can keep standing. It's in those moments that Psalm 121 becomes a declaration, not of avoidance, but of endurance. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. God's promise was never that you'd avoid battles, but that you'd never face one alone. Being guarded doesn't mean being exempt from struggle. It means that in the middle of it, you are divinely protected from destruction. The Lord does not remove you from the fight. He surrounds you in it. Think of David standing before Goliath, a young shepherd against a warrior giant. From the outside, it looked like an impossible mismatch. But David understood something his enemy didn't. Protection is not about size, it's about presence. He didn't rely on armor or strength. He said in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17, verse 45, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." That name was his shield, his confidence, his covering. You carry that same divine covering. When anxiety rises like a giant before you, when life's battles feel bigger than your strength, remember, the presence of God is your invisible armor. The blows may come, but they cannot penetrate what heaven protects. The fight may be long, but you will not be defeated. The ground may shake, but the one who holds you never will. Being guarded in battle doesn't mean you won't feel fear. Even David, the man after God's heart, wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 56, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." Notice he didn't say if I am afraid, but when. Fear is human, faith is the response. To be guarded means to keep moving forward, not because you're fearless, but because you're protected. The Lord shields you from what you cannot see and strengthens you for what you must face. There is a holy stillness that exists even in the heat of battle, the kind that comes when you realize you are not fighting for victory, but from it. Jesus has already overcome. The war for your soul has already been won. Now you simply stand and hold your ground while He fights through you. The Bible says in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." That stillness is not weakness, it's confidence. It's standing firm in the knowledge that God's protection is stronger than the storm around you. Sometimes battles come not to destroy you, but to reveal what's inside you. Faith is not built in comfort, it's forged in conflict. The struggle you're in is not punishment, it's preparation. Every challenge is shaping you into someone more resilient, more focused, more spiritually aware. You are learning to fight differently, not with panic, but with prayer, not with fear, but with faith. And as you fight, heaven fights with you. Angels are assigned to your life, moving on your behalf in ways you cannot perceive. The same God who sent warriors of fire to surround Elisha now surrounds you with his power and presence. The battle you face may be invisible, but so is your victory, already written, already secured, already yours. When the day feels heavy and your heart begins to tremble, speak this truth: the Lord is my defender. Say it until it feels like armor around your chest. Say it until your soul remembers that you were never left to fight alone. No weapon formed against you will prosper, because no battle can overthrow the one God commands. You are guarded not just in the beginning, but through the middle, in the confusion, in the exhaustion, in the uncertainty. The Lord watches over your coming and your going, your victories and your valleys, your first step and your last breath. So keep standing, keep believing. The fight is real, but so is your protection. The ground beneath you is not shaking, it's being sanctified. The same hand that formed you still shields you, and as long as you stand under his covering, no battle will ever have the power to break you. Your steps are ordered, not random. There are days when life feels scattered, when events seem disconnected, when delays frustrate your plans, and when nothing unfolds the way you imagined. You look at your path and wonder if any of it makes sense, or if you've somehow stepped off course. But Psalm 121 reminds you, he will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. That single line carries an eternal truth. Your steps are not random. They are written, guided, and guarded by the hand of a purposeful God. Every moment of your journey is part of a greater design, even when it doesn't look like it. The detours, the pauses, the disappointments, none of them are accidents. God wastes nothing. Even the steps you regret are redeemed within his plan. You may not see the pattern now, but the one who watches over you is weaving it into something far more beautiful than you could build on your own. Think of Ruth, leaving her homeland broken and uncertain, walking behind Naomi through a land she didn't know. To the human eye, her path looked ordinary, gathering leftover grain in a field just to survive. Yet that very step led her to Boaz, the man who would become her redeemer, and through her, God preserved a lineage that would one day lead to Christ. What seemed like chance was actually divine choreography. Every step, even the small ones, carried eternal purpose. The same is true for you. You are not wandering, you are being led. The closed doors were not rejection, they were redirection. The waiting seasons were not wasted, they were preparation. God has been ordering your steps long before you could see the path. You may feel delayed, but you are not denied. Divine timing doesn't move by your clock, it moves by your calling. When you belong to God, nothing is coincidence. The conversation that encouraged you at the right time, the opportunity that arrived when you almost gave up, the strength that came in the middle of your breaking, all of it bears his fingerprints. He is too intentional to be random, too sovereign to be surprised, too loving to be careless. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, it says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." You plan, but God aligns. You decide, but he directs. This truth removes the burden of control. You don't have to see the entire road to trust the one who built it. When your foot slips, grace catches you. When you take a wrong turn, mercy reroutes you. When you stand still in confusion, God still moves around you. He never stops working, even when you can't feel it. There are divine intersections in your life right now that you won't recognize until later. But when you do, you'll see that every step had purpose, every pause had reason, every stumble had redemption. To walk by faith is to believe that nothing in your life is wasted. The mistakes that humbled you, the prayers that took years to answer, the seasons that made no sense, they all served a purpose. Some steps taught you dependence. Others taught you discernment. All of them led you closer to the heart of God. The enemy wants you to believe that you're lost, that you've missed your moment. But the truth is, you can't fall out of the hands of the one who holds your steps. Even when you wander, His grace is greater than your direction. The shepherd who leaves the 99 doesn't lose track of the one, and He hasn't lost track of you. So today, walk with confidence, not because you know the route, but because you trust the guide. Your future isn't a mystery to Him. It's a masterpiece in progress. The Lord who watches over you will steady every step, even on uneven ground. And when you look back someday, you won't see randomness. You'll see redemption in every footprint. Your steps are not accidents. They are assignments. And the same God who began this journey will see you safely home, the sun by day and the moon by night. There is something profoundly comforting about knowing that God's presence does not operate on a schedule. The world moves in cycles, light and dark, work and rest, joy and sorrow. Yet Psalm 121 assures you that through every season, every hour, every shift in your life, the Lord is constant. The psalmist writes, "The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night." It's a promise that God's protection and care are not temporary. They remain unbroken, unending, and unchanging, day and night. The sun by day represents the visible pressures of life, the challenges you can see, the responsibilities that weigh on you, the people and problems that drain your strength. The moon by night symbolizes the invisible battles, the fears that visit in silence, the thoughts that haunt you, the loneliness that creeps in when the world grows quiet. Yet in both, the seen and unseen, the bright and the dark, God watches over you. His protection is not seasonal, it's eternal. When the sun burns too hot, when life feels relentless, when your pace becomes unsustainable, God becomes your shade. He softens the intensity of what you face so you can endure. When the night falls and uncertainty tries to claim your peace, He becomes your light, the steady glow that reminds you you're not walking in the dark alone. The presence of God doesn't change with the hour, it defines the hour. Think of the Israelites again in the wilderness. God covered them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. He adapted His presence to their need, shade when the sun burned, light when the dark surrounded. That's the God you serve. Not distant, not static, but deeply personal. He meets you in whatever season you're in and provides exactly what sustains you there. In your life, there will be days of clarity, when things make sense, when peace feels natural. That's the sun by day. But there will also be nights when confusion settles like fog, when prayers feel unanswered and your steps feel unsure. That's the moon by night. Both seasons are holy. Both are held in God's hand. He doesn't abandon you in either. The same God who shines in your joy stands guard in your sorrow. The moonlight may be faint, but it's enough to walk by. Sometimes faith isn't about seeing the whole path. It's about trusting that the light you have is sufficient for the next step. God doesn't always flood your life with clarity. Sometimes He gives you just enough light to keep walking, one moment at a time. That's what trust looks like. Not certainty, but surrender. When David wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 27, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" He was declaring a truth that applies to every hour of the day. God is not only your light when things go right, He is your light when things go wrong. His presence is not a daytime blessing. It's a 24-hour covering. And when the night feels too long, remember this: the moon only reflects light from the sun. In the same way, the peace you feel in the dark is still the reflection of God's unchanging goodness. He hasn't disappeared. He's teaching you to recognize His glow even when the world goes dim. The night is never as dark as it seems when your heart remembers where the light comes from. So whether today brings heat or shadow, confidence or confusion, remember this promise: the sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. You are held in the care of a God who governs every hour with wisdom and mercy. His watch doesn't end when daylight fades, it only changes form. Morning or midnight, sunshine or silence, the Lord remains the same. His hand never withdraws. His eyes never turn away. You are safe in His rhythm, secure in His presence, and steady under His constant watch. Day and night are not opposites in His sight. They are simply opportunities to show you a new side of His faithfulness. So lift your head, whether under sun or moon, and rest in this truth. The one who made both still holds you beneath them. The silent miracles of every morning. Most miracles don't come with thunder or lightning. They arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments, hidden in the rhythm of your mornings. The breath that fills your lungs, the heartbeat that continues without command, the sunrise that paints the sky with new mercy. These are not coincidences. They are daily reminders that God is still working, still sustaining, still watching over you. Psalm 121 isn't only about dramatic protection. It's about the constant, quiet miracles that prove His care never stops. Every morning, heaven renews its covenant with you through creation itself. The earth turns, the sun rises, and life continues, all because God said it should. In the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verses 22 and 23, it says, "Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." That is not poetry, it's truth. You wake up inside a miracle every single day. The problem is not that miracles stopped happening, it's that we stopped noticing them. We rush into our days already overwhelmed and miss the subtle evidence of grace. But gratitude opens your eyes again. When you slow down enough to see, you realize how covered you truly are. You were protected through the night, restored in your rest, and given another sunrise. Proof that God hasn't finished with you yet. Think of the manna in the wilderness. It didn't fall in storms or flames. It came softly with the morning dew. God fed His people in silence. The miracle wasn't in its appearance, but in its consistency. Fresh every morning, exactly enough for the day. That's how His provision still works. You may not see the abundance all at once, but if you look closely, you'll find His fingerprints in the smallest mercies. The encouragement that came just when you needed it, the strength that met you in weakness, the peace that returned without explanation. The silent miracles of every morning are God's way of saying, "I'm still here." He doesn't always move in ways that shake the earth. Sometimes He moves in ways that simply keep your heart beating. Every inhale is a sign of grace. Every new opportunity, a continuation of mercy. You didn't make it through yesterday because of luck. You made it because His hand was holding you, even when you didn't notice. There are countless things you've been spared from that you'll never know. Dangers unseen, burdens lifted before they reached you, prayers answered before you spoke them. Divine protection often looks like an ordinary day. That's why awareness is holy. When you see your morning through the lens of gratitude, you start recognizing miracles not as interruptions of nature, but as its design. When Jesus taught His disciples to pray for daily bread, He was teaching more than dependence. He was teaching perception, the ability to see the sacred in the simple, the divine in the daily. Your morning coffee, your child's laughter, the warmth of sunlight, the stillness after prayer. These are not small things. They're sacred echoes of a faithful God. If you've ever woken up after a night of anxiety and felt unexpected peace, that's a miracle. If you've ever faced a day that should have broken you but somehow found strength to rise, that's a miracle. If you've ever walked through heartbreak and still had the courage to love again, that's a miracle. The fact that you are still here, still breathing, still believing, that alone is proof of God's unrelenting grace. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, pause. Take a breath and thank Him for the miracles you can't see. Let your gratitude turn routine into reverence. Whisper, "Thank you, Lord, for another beginning." Because every sunrise is more than light. It's a declaration that heaven has not given up on earth, and God has not given up on you. The silent miracles of every morning are evidence that your life is not random, that you are being sustained by something greater than yourself. And as you begin your day under the watchful eyes of the Lord, remember, what seems ordinary is often divine in disguise. The miracle is not that God moves once in a while, it's that He never stops. When you walk through uncertainty, there comes a point in every believer's life when the path ahead disappears into fog. You can't see where you're going. The clarity you once had is gone, replaced by questions that feel heavier than answers. You start to wonder, is God still leading me? Did I miss something? Am I still on the right path? But Psalm 121 was written for moments like this. It's not a song for the confident. It's a song for the uncertain. It reminds your heart that even when the road is hidden, the guide never is. The psalmist says, "The Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore." That means He is not just the God of your destinations. He's the God of your in-betweens. He doesn't disappear when direction fades. In fact, that's often when His hand is closest, not leading from afar, but walking beside you, step by step, teaching you to trust what you cannot see. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It's the courage to keep walking in the midst of it. Abraham knew this better than anyone. In the book of Genesis, chapter 12, God told him to leave everything familiar, his country, his people, his home, and go to a land He would show him. Not a land He described or explained, but one Abraham would recognize only as he walked. Faith began where clarity ended, and every step of obedience became an act of trust that led to fulfillment. God still works that way today. He doesn't always give you the map, because if He did, you might never learn to depend on the voice. He calls you to walk, to trust, to take the next step even when you can't see the whole road. It's not a punishment, it's preparation. He's shaping your heart to follow His presence, not your plans. When you walk through uncertainty, your fear says, "What if I fall?" But God's promise in Psalm 121 answers, "I will not let your foot slip." You may stumble, but you won't fall beyond His reach. You may take detours, but you won't walk outside His grace. His protection doesn't just cover your body, it covers your purpose. Sometimes God hides the path so that you'll rediscover His presence. If you could see everything clearly, you'd stop seeking Him. But when the way forward blurs, you start to pray differently, not for control, but for closeness. That's the kind of faith that grows in uncertainty. Think of the disciples in the storm, crossing the lake at night. The waves crashed, the wind howled, and Jesus seemed far away. Then, out of the darkness, they saw Him walking on the water. The miracle wasn't just that He calmed the storm, it was that He showed them He was Lord even in the storm. That's what happens when you walk through uncertainty. God reveals sides of Himself you never would have known in safety. You don't have to see the whole path to move forward. You only need to see the next step, and even that step is lit by grace. The Word of God says in the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 105, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." Notice it says lamp, not floodlight. God gives you just enough light for where you are, not for where you wish you were. That's how trust is built, in small, obedient steps that eventually lead to destiny. So if you feel lost, if your plans have fallen apart, or if you don't know which direction to take, remember this: you are not lost to the One who leads you. Every season of uncertainty is an invitation to intimacy. The fog is not your enemy. It's the curtain God uses to reveal His voice. Walk slowly, pray often, trust deeply. The Lord who watches over your coming and going has not stepped away. You are still seen, you are still guided, you are still held. And when the fog lifts, you'll look back and realize that even when you couldn't trace His hand, His footprints were beside yours the entire time, steady, patient, and sure. The God who keeps you from falling. There is a deep comfort in knowing that even when you lose your balance, you cannot lose His grip. Life has a way of pulling at your footing through sudden loss, disappointment, betrayal, or fear, and sometimes it feels as though you are one step away from collapse. Yet Psalm 121 offers this quiet assurance: He will not let your foot slip. The One who watches over you will not slumber. This isn't a promise that you'll never stumble. It's a promise that you'll never fall beyond His reach. God doesn't prevent every misstep, but He prevents destruction. He allows your knees to bend, but not to break. You may trip, but His hand steadies you before you fall too far. His protection doesn't erase human weakness, it surrounds it. David understood this when he wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 24, "Though he may stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand." The imagery is intimate, God's hand beneath your steps, holding you even when you're unaware of how close you came to falling. That's the unseen mercy at work every day of your life. Sometimes your greatest victories come disguised as near misses. The moment you almost gave up, almost broke, almost lost control, but didn't. That was grace keeping you upright. Every time despair whispered that you were finished and you somehow kept standing, that was His strength, not yours. You didn't survive because you were strong. You survived because He held you together when everything else tried to pull you apart. Think of Peter walking on the water in the book of Matthew, chapter 14. For a few moments, he did the impossible. But when fear rose louder than faith, he began to sink. Still, Jesus didn't let him drown. He reached out immediately, caught him, and asked, "Why did you doubt?" That story is not just about Peter's failure. It's about Christ's faithfulness. Even when doubt pulls you down, His hand pulls you up. There are seasons when you will slip. You will question, worry, make mistakes, and drift from what you know to be true. Yet God's commitment to you doesn't weaken in those moments. It intensifies. His love doesn't depend on how steady your steps are. It depends on His character, which never changes. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The world will tell you to be self-sufficient, to keep your balance through control and discipline. But faith tells a different story. True balance isn't found in perfection. It's found in surrender. When you trust God to steady you, you stop living afraid of falling. You begin to walk with confidence, not because the path is smooth, but because you know whose hand you're holding. Even the detours and delays in your life are part of His protective guidance. Sometimes God allows you to slip just enough to teach you dependence, to remind you that safety is not in certainty, but in surrender. What you call a setback might actually be His redirection, a moment designed to turn your eyes back to Him. So the next time you feel unsteady, whisper, "Lord, steady my steps." That prayer is enough to realign your heart with His presence. And as you walk, remember, you are not being asked to be flawless. You are being invited to be faithful. The God who watches over you is not standing at a distance, waiting for you to fail. He is beside you, holding your arm, guiding your pace, protecting your soul. You might stumble, but you will not be overcome. You might bend, but you will not break. Your life is being held together by a strength greater than your own, the steady, unshakable hand of the keeper of your soul. The Lord who guards your soul, not just your steps. Most people think of God's protection as something that shields their bodies or their paths, a defense against visible dangers, external enemies, and physical harm. But the promise of Psalm 121 runs deeper. The psalmist declares, "The Lord will keep your life." Some translations say, "The Lord will preserve your soul." This is not about merely keeping you safe on the outside. It's about guarding what's eternal inside you, your spirit, your peace, your identity, your faith. The soul is the most sacred part of who you are. It's the seat of your emotions, your thoughts, your will, and your connection to God. When the world tries to drain you, confuse you, or break you, it's your soul that takes the impact. And that's where divine protection matters most. The Lord doesn't just protect your days, He preserves your depth. He keeps your inner world intact even when your outer world feels unstable. There's a difference between surviving and being kept. Surviving means you made it through. Being kept means you were sustained through it. You can walk through storms without them living inside you. You can face chaos without letting it corrupt your peace. That's what it means for the Lord to guard your soul. Think of Job, a man who lost everything: wealth, family, health, and reputation. Yet in all his suffering, the enemy could not touch his soul. In the book of Job, chapter 2, verse 6, God told Satan, "Behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life." In other words, you can touch what surrounds him, but not what sustains him. That divine boundary still exists over your life. The pain may reach your circumstances, but it cannot reach your spirit unless you let it. When David fled from Saul and hid in caves, uncertain of his future, he wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 57, My soul takes refuge in you until the disaster has passed. Notice that he didn't say his body was safe. He said his soul was. His circumstances were unstable, but his spirit was protected. God was not just watching over where David was. He was keeping who David was. Your greatest battles are rarely physical. They happen in your thoughts, in your emotions, in the quiet moments when no one else can see. The world might attack your finances, your reputation, or your plans, but the enemy's real goal is to wear down your soul, to make you lose hope, faith, or love. That's why God guards it so fiercely. He surrounds your mind with truth, your heart with peace, and your spirit with endurance. When Jesus prayed for his disciples in the book of John, chapter 17, he didn't ask the Father to take them out of the world, but to keep them from the evil within it. That's soul protection. God doesn't always remove the storm. He anchors you through it. You can walk through fire and not be burned because what's inside you is sealed by his presence. If your soul has felt tired, restless, or anxious, it's because it's longing to rest under that protection again. You weren't designed to carry everything. You were designed to be kept. When you pray, Lord, guard my soul, you are asking God to restore what the world has drained: your peace, your strength, your clarity, your joy. And he does, every time. The Lord's watch over your life is not fragile or temporary, it's constant. It's the kind of keeping that doesn't just hold you together but renews you from within. When everything else fades, his keeping remains. So even if you lose possessions, plans, or people, know this: your soul is safe. It's guarded by the same God who spoke galaxies into existence, the same Savior who laid down his life to preserve yours. No darkness can destroy what he has sealed. No chaos can undo what he protects. The Lord is not only watching over your steps, he is guarding your soul. You are kept, not just alive, but whole. The unseen hand that guides you through every season. Life is a cycle of seasons, some filled with light and clarity, others marked by darkness and uncertainty. There are moments when everything aligns, when prayers are answered and paths are clear. But there are also times when silence feels louder than guidance, when you wonder if heaven has gone quiet. Yet even then, Psalm 121 whispers a truth that does not change. The Lord watches over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. That means there is never a season when his hand leaves you. Whether you are standing at the beginning of something new or walking through the end of something difficult, his presence remains steady. The hand that lifted you in times of joy is the same hand that carries you in moments of sorrow. It doesn't loosen its grip when you doubt. It doesn't pull away when you struggle. It holds, it steadies, it leads. Sometimes God's hand is visible, a miracle, a breakthrough, a clear answer to prayer. Other times it's invisible, a delay that protects you, a closed door that redirects you, a silence that strengthens your trust. Just because you can't feel it doesn't mean it's not there. The unseen hand of God is most active when you assume he's doing nothing. Joseph didn't see that hand when he was betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave, and forgotten in prison. But every hardship was moving him closer to the promise. When the time came, he could finally look back and say, God intended it all for good. The same hand that seemed absent in the pit was working behind the scenes for his rise. That's how God operates, quietly, purposefully, beyond your line of sight. You may not notice his hand in real time, but when you look back, the pattern becomes undeniable. You'll see how every detour was direction, how every delay was protection, how every no was really a greater yes in disguise. The seasons that felt wasted were the ones where he built your roots. The moments that broke you were the ones that made room for his healing. Nothing was random. Everything was redeemed. When your heart grows restless and your prayers feel unanswered, remember that guidance is not always a voice. Sometimes it's a hand that moves pieces into place, that closes doors you begged to open, that holds you steady when the ground shifts. A hand that never stops working, even when you cannot see it. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 10, God says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That verse doesn't promise ease. It promises endurance. You will walk through changing seasons, but you will never walk without His hand upon you. There will be days when that hand feels gentle, guiding, comforting, blessing. And there will be days when it feels firm, correcting, closing, redirecting. Both are acts of love. Both are forms of protection. Sometimes God's hand calms the storm. Other times it teaches you how to stand in it. Either way, His hold on you is unbreakable. So wherever you find yourself right now, in a season of waiting, loss, rebuilding, or renewal, trust this. The unseen hand of God is still guiding your path. You don't need to see the whole map to keep walking. You just need to stay close to the one who holds it. The same hand that shaped the mountains in Psalm 121 is shaping your story. The same voice that told the sun when to rise still whispers peace into your restless heart. Seasons will change, but His faithfulness will not. You are not drifting, you are being directed. The unseen hand of God is not just guiding your steps, it's writing your destiny. The God who watches, keeps, and carries you. When you step back and take in every line of Psalm 121, a pattern begins to emerge. Not one of struggle, but of constancy. It is the story of a God who never looks away, who never blinks, who never withdraws His hand. The same eyes that watched over Israel in the wilderness now watch over you where you are. The same presence that kept David through battles and Elijah through exhaustion keeps you through every hour of your day. The same Lord who commanded the sun to rise and the moon to glow continues to write light into the darkest corners of your life. Every promise in this psalm is deeply personal. It's not about a distant deity keeping casual watch over creation. It's about a Father who knows your steps, your fears, your thoughts before you speak them. The one who made heaven and earth has chosen to make His home within your heart. He doesn't watch from the sky. He watches from beside you. He doesn't protect from afar. He walks with you through every shadow and sunrise. Think about what that means. You are never alone in your journey. The road that feels uncertain to you is already familiar to Him. The future that intimidates you has already been prepared in His hands. The prayers you haven't found words for have already been heard in His heart. When you lift your eyes to the hills, you're not reaching for a place, you're reaching for a person, and that person is your keeper. The Lord who watches over your coming and going both now and forevermore is not simply observing your life, He is sustaining it. He is the still point in your turning world, the calm center in your chaos, the voice that says, "Be still, I am with you." You will face long days and restless nights, but in both, His care remains the same. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. His shade covers you in the heat. His light steadies you in the dark. There will be moments when you forget to look up, when you grow weary, when your eyes fall to the ground. Even then, He watches. Even then, He keeps. Even then, He carries. You are not being kept alive by chance. You are being held alive by choice, His choice. So as you rise each morning and close each night, let this truth become the rhythm of your soul. The Lord is my keeper. He sees me when I stand, and He steadies me when I stumble. He guards my body, but He also guards my soul. He orders my steps, but He also carries my heart. If this message has stirred your faith today, take a moment to hold it close. Let it breathe peace into your thoughts and strength into your spirit. And if it has reminded you that you are never alone, then share it with someone who might need that same reminder. Speak it, send it, live it, because every time this truth is shared, the light of Psalm 121 reaches one more heart that's been walking in shadow. Take a moment to rest in His presence before you move on with your day. Whisper, "You watch over me," and let the weight of that truth settle over you like morning sunlight. Then carry it forward into every conversation, every task, every quiet moment, knowing that from this day until forever, you are seen, you are safe, and you are loved by the God who keeps watch without sleeping.